We'll do whatever we can to keep our country safe.
So you're not pulling back?
No, not at all.
And as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately, we will draw down 700 people effective today.
Okay, so that's good news, and we'll get to that. But didn't Trump just say no? We're not drawing back, no retreat, no surrender. And so you're probably sitting there thinking, well, that makes him look like a big liar because he said there's not going to be a drawdown, and then Tom Homan says that there is. But he looks even stupider because when Trump said that, Homan had already said there was going to be a drawdown, which Trump then denied, and then what do you know? It happened. He's in a Homan sandwich, which is where nobody wants to be. But how big of a drawdown is this victory? Did the protesters get everything that they want? Does Minneapolis have nothing more to worry about? Not so fast on that, because the DHS is moving some agents out of the state. About 700, I believe, is the number they're saying, but they are leaving 2,000. And I'll remind you all, they had originally sent 2,000, and then not that long ago, they added another surge, and now conveniently they're subtracting that later surge while leaving all the people originally there. Kind of feels like we're supposed to take the bait and think that this is success when it kind of feels like they set this thing up. That said, let's hear a little bit more from the press conference, see what we can figure out.
I said back in March of this year, if the hateful rhetoric didn't stop, I was afraid there would be bloodshed. And there has been. I wish every one of you could put that gun on your hip, put that Kevlar vest on, and go out there and put up where they put up with. Considering the hate, the rhetoric, the attacks, I think they performed remarkably, and I'm proud of them.
Do you think this operation was a success here in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think I just listed a bunch of people we took off the streets of the Twin Cities. So I think it was very effective as far as public safety goes. Was it a perfect operation? No.
Yeah, I think we acknowledge that too. So in that he says, I said there would be bloodshed. And then he says, you should all put a gun on your hip and get out there and see if you can take all the hate. But Tom Homan, have you considered that those two parts of the sentence are related in a way that you're not acknowledging and perhaps don't want to? Maybe the reason they're getting the hate is not just because they exist. They hate us for our freedoms. Maybe it's because of what we've done. Maybe if they stopped murdering people, there would be less hate coming their way. And you gave the challenge to the media to put the gun on your hip, Kevlar vest on, and get out there and do the job. Have you considered that perhaps we could have avoided some of these problems if they hadn't put the gun on their hip in the first place? I'm gonna remind everyone, at least as of what I know, there's been no shooting going at ICE agents in Minneapolis, despite the fact that they've started all this conflict. They keep beating people, instigating violence. There's literally thousands of them. They've been there for weeks. After all of that, they don't seem to be in any danger. Maybe they don't actually need the guns. And in fact, maybe if they weren't packing weapons and tear gassing people and covered in armor and everything, maybe they could just do the job the way it's always been done with ICE, the way that Biden did it, the way that Obama did it for 8 years, more successfully, by the way, from the point of view of people who want immigrants to be deported, where they're not getting in your face with an AR-15 and they just do the actual job. Maybe you're missing all of that. But anyway, Sharon, we're supposed to be excited that they drew it down, and I guess fewer agents is, it's fewer interactions, but it's still thousands. It still massively outnumbers the number of police operating in Minneapolis. And so I don't consider this to be a massive concession, and I hope the protesters don't either. But what do you think?
Yeah, they've got to keep the protesters pounding the pavement, risking their lives, unfortunately documenting with their cell phones. Which came first, the hate or the murder? Which came first, violating people's rights, no due process, or the hate, So it's so interesting to me that the bar is so low. Tom Homan, the guy who took money in a bag and something about the FBI, and nobody's mentioning that, but he's brought in as like the voice of reason. And the president, who on the one hand saying, I have very productive conversations with people he's previously trashed over and over again and called for their arrest. And then he switches back, it's this bipolar effect he's got going on to, no, it was no drawdown. The people of Minneapolis are not safe. No American is until we get rid of this institution, overhaul it at least in a way that is humane. I don't really see the benefit here. I don't.
Yeah, and I'm left. I care less about the fact that they're being taken out, although I guess that's good, and more about wondering where are they going? Because I feel like they're gonna go somewhere, and I feel like the mission is what it is. I feel like this is just sort of shuffling the deck chairs around on the Titanic or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't feel positive to me. And the final comment I want to make, graphic 2, Homan says this is supposed to be one of the reforms, and some Democrats have called for it, saying they're all going to have body-worn cameras nationwide. So immediately in Minneapolis and nationwide. And look, on some level, is that a good thing? Sure, it's less of a necessary thing now that we actually have 5 angles of every secret police execution. But I'm also a little bit worried about it in a couple of ways. First of all, I feel like they have the cameras. That doesn't mean we get the footage. I feel like we get the footage when they want us to, when they think it would benefit them, and when they don't, we just don't get it. So that actually becomes more of a tool for manipulation and propaganda rather than like a go-to reliable source of information. But the other thing is, and I have a scripted video that's gonna be coming out a little bit later on. We put together these special videos each week about the ICE and DHS contract that they have with Palantir. So they paid $30 million for this massive data gathering and analysis AI surveillance thing. And so like now, so they're gonna have body cameras on all of their people or whatever, filming everything that happens. And it's not just like they bust in a door to get the worst of the worst, it's protesters, it's regular people, it's the legal observers, all their faces, all their clothing, license plates, perhaps homes and stuff like that, all being fed into a massive Palantir surveillance apparatus. And so I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's gonna do more harm than good long term. But those are my thoughts.
If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here. So thank you in advance for joining.